So when it comes to having wealth, everybody has a certain degree of financial wealth as far as money, emotional wealth as far as how they feel and the energy that they radiate toward others, and then health wealth, how in shape their body is, how they feel physically and mentally. So when it comes down to financial wealth specifically, I've been thinking a lot about how do you measure that? Not necessarily that it is something that it's very healthy to measure and compare, but just thinking about wealth as a mental exercise. What should you even be looking at? So you can measure for wealth how much you have. So for a lot of young people, that's just how much is in your savings account. Or for older people, what's in your savings account plus the value of the equity you have in your home, plus the value of your retirement account. So looking at assets, that's one way to measure it. Another way is wealth is how much you earn. So do you make 10K a month? Do you make $12,000 a month? What's your actual pre-tax or after-tax income? But something that I've recently found is for my internal thermostat of wealth, it's actually how reliable my earnings are. So when I was a salaried employee and I had money coming in, even though it wasn't a crazy amount of money, I felt very comfortable because what was coming in was higher than my monthly expenses. And so I felt like I was, I had a consistent stream of income. Now that I am not a W-2 employee and I don't have a salary or an income like that, even though I have more saved up in the bank than I've ever had at any point, I don't feel as wealthy as I used to because that stream of income has been cut off. So that kind of got rid of one of my beliefs that wealth is about how much you have, because I've had such a scarcity mindset around money where I don't want to, go out to eat. I don't want to get food. I'm becoming kind of a cheap person, even though I have more saved up than I've ever had saved up in the past. It's because I don't feel that there's consistency with the money coming in. It's too up and down, and with a salary, it's more stable. That's not to say that stability is always the best for you. I think that I can grow from learning to fight through not having consistent income, to know what that feels like, so that eventually I can have assets that produce consistent income, like a property that pays you on the first of every month, because now I'm familiar with what it feels like to not have that stability with money coming in. There's also something that I like to track called my wealth ratio. And so that's where every month for the past probably year or 10 months or so, I've been tracking what do I earn and what do I spend. And the ratio between that is my wealth ratio. So simple numbers, if you make $10,000 a month and you spend $5,000 a month, you take the 10,000 divided by the 5,000 and you have a wealth ratio of 2. But if there's somebody who makes $20,000 a month and they spend $18,000 a month, sure, their income is higher, maybe they feel more wealthy, but if they're spending so much of their income as far as like a percentage or a proportion, then they're not really generating the wealth where they can live off of that long term. So it's super simple. It's advice that everyone's heard before: cut your expenses and raise your income. But once you actually start tracking on Excel, what do you make every month and what do you spend every month, then you have a good gauge for what your wealth ratio is. And if you can keep it above 1 for a bunch of months in a row, then you're saving up money. And once you start to get a multiplier and you're making 2 times, 4 times, 8 times as much as you're spending, that's when you really start to accumulate the savings that I'm guessing will give you some mental peace where you can relax and not be stressed about money.